Lucas had another question about the structure of having a holding company LLC owning your operating company. So could you describe the benefits to the structure as well as when it would make sense to do this? So I think the basic idea here is you hear people a lot of times that have either one or multiple companies, and then they have a holding company that sits above. What, if any, benefits come from that, and when would I want to think about doing that?
Yeah, so Lucas, typically speaking, when we're talking about having a holding company owning an operating company, it's usually done if there are multiple operating companies and you want one parent company. Generally speaking, when we're talking about holding companies and one other business, it's a side where you've got operating company here, holding company here, and the holding company is holding appreciating assets like real estate or maybe some intellectual property stuff that's held over here, but as a separate aside from the actual operating company. But if you are looking at what about if I want a holding company owning this business, that's usually so that you are done when there are multiple operating businesses that you want with recorded under one. And one of the primary reasons to do that, frankly, is to increase your ability to have to remain lendable as you have businesses that you're selling and buying and transferring back and forth, because you can take business A and sell it and buy business Y and still have all those businesses in between, but your holding time of those companies doesn't change because holding company A still has a certain amount of time to spend in business, and that impacts your lendability.
And what about from a tax benefit side? Am I going to pick up much, if any, tax benefits by incorporating that kind of a structure into what I do, or because it's all flowing, is it sixes?
It's usually sixes, and as the difference comes into play if you're looking at doing an S corporate structure or a C corporate structure versus partnerships and sole proprietorship, single member LLC, stuff like that. But generally speaking, we find that you can do that on either the holding company or one of those subsidiaries or all those subsidiaries, and you're going to get the same benefits. So it's not usually this structure that's creating that tax benefit.
I'll just throw out maybe one other idea on when we might want a separate company, and it's not necessarily a holding company situation, but if I have an S corp and I want to pay my kids, you'll often recommend setting up a separate company that's not an S corp.
Yes.
Hire that company to perform services for this business and have the kids work for this secondary company, because there are some issues with your kids working for the S corp. So that's another scenario where we might want to introduce another company that does have some actual tax implications because of how money flows through there.
Yeah, and I do have to clarify, when I said there's not usually a whole lot of tax benefit associated with it because you could do it all, we're talking about if you've got holding company owning individual businesses. But there's a lot of tax benefit associated with S corporation structure or some C corporation or something like that over here, coupled with a holding company on the side that's not linked to it. There are several different reasons from a tax standpoint why that could be a good structure.